that United and Tottenham look like they're sort of 70-80% there for what would be a blockbuster of a Europa League final. That would be, a 60-70 million pounds game for both of those clubs who are toiling at this moment in time.
Probably the most consequential final of that competition there's ever been, given the size of the clubs and what it will mean to the winner.
Well, for English clubs certainly, because you're right, because ultimately you would expect them to be higher up in the league, but the reality of it is at this moment in time we could end up with 6 teams in the Champions League. And you're right, because of what's happened with PSR and the financial stuff in the last few years, where so many teams, big clubs, United, Villa, Newcastle, they're all on the edge, aren't they, of sort of breaking the rules and overspending, and it really does hamper them and harm them when they don't get in the Champions League. It's a massive consequence. So you're going to have some nervous boardrooms in the next few weeks, and managers, because the success of a manager will depend upon the investment in the squad and good recruitment. And if you can't recruit because if you can only half recruit, if you've got a budget of 50-60 million versus a budget of 120, you're going to have a lot better chance as a coach and a manager and a group of players to be successful next season. So for Villa, for Forest, for Chelsea, for Manchester United and Tottenham, and obviously Newcastle as well, and the teams that aren't quite sort of secure yet, it's big, it's really big. I'm not quite sure it's right that football is like that we are sort of at this moment in time, relegations sorted, the titles sorted, and we've got what would be games for money. That is it. It's games for money, and that's what's at stake in this next year. There's no trophy at stake in the Champions League places that we're talking about. There is obviously for Tottenham and Manchester United, but it's sad. No one talks about winning the Europa League to lift the trophy and get a medal around the neck. They talk about it from a point of view of its qualification for the Champions League. It gets you £80 million. It's almost like a competition has been dismissed because of its prize. But that's the old UEFA Cup. That's a big competition. That was a hell of a competition back in the day. That was something that meant something. But it's now been put to a point whereby the sort of main sort of marketing sell of the Europa League is you get a Champions League spot. Well, what about the trophy? What about the medal around the neck? I did say probably a few months ago that if Manchester United were to win the Europa League, that I would want Tottenham to win a trophy. I enjoyed Newcastle winning a trophy at Wembley against Liverpool, but I obviously want Manchester United to win desperately. But it looks like that's going to be a hell of a final. I mean, obviously both teams have to finish their jobs off in midweek, and they have been known to let themselves down this season, so you'd think that both of them will complete the job.
Gary Neville delivered a scathing assessment of Manchester United's 4-3 defeat to Brentford on May 4, 2025, calling the team's performance embarrassing, soft, and unrecognizable. United, under manager Ruben Amorim, fielded their youngest ever Premier League starting 11, with an average age of just 22 years and 270 days. While the decision was made to rest key players ahead of the Europa League semi-final second leg against Athletic Bilbao, Neville insisted that it was no excuse for what he described as a disgraceful showing. Brentford took full advantage of United's youthful lineup, exploiting their lack of physical presence and poor organisation. Kevin Shade scored twice with headers, while Mikkel Damsgaard and Jon Wissa added to the scoreline, putting the hosts 4-1 ahead. Manchester United responded with goals from Mason Mount, Alejandro Garnacho, and Amad Diallo, but the comeback came too late, and the damage had already been done. Speaking after the match, Neville expressed deep concern about the state of the team. He argued that despite the squad rotation, the players on the pitch should still have shown more fight, commitment, and professionalism. According to him, the Manchester United badge comes with certain standards that were not upheld during the match. He said that while youthful mistakes are understandable, what he saw from the team was a complete lack of basic footballing fundamentals, poor marking, failure to win second balls, and an absence of leadership. He continued by saying the issues run far deeper than just the rotation of the squad. With United now sitting 15th in the Premier League with 39 points and winless in their last 6 league matches, Neville pointed out that this is a reflection of a much larger cultural and structural problem within the club. He argued that the players looked lost and disconnected from any sort of identity or plan, and he questioned the overall direction of the team under the current leadership. One of the notable stories from the match was the historic debut of 17-year-old Cheeto Obi Martin, who became the youngest player ever to start a Premier League match for Manchester United. While the teenager showed flashes of talent, Neville warned against placing too much expectation on such a young player in such a turbulent environment. He stated that while Obi Martin has promise, it is unfair for him to be thrown into matches of this magnitude simply because the rest of the team is underperforming or unavailable. Neville also raised concerns over injuries sustained during the game, including those to Matthijs de Ligt and Luke Shaw, which could have implications for the upcoming Europa League fixture. With so much at stake in Europe, he stressed that the club cannot afford this level of instability.